I now will demo how the Metacritic Games dataset can be analyzed from a point of view from genre. I here already have a map with the datasets available, so the Metacritic genre dataset is also one of them. It's the games. Then we start from scratch by opening an empty Excel like this. From the data tab, you select. From data tab, you make connection to the Excel file and you select it. Then Power Query will connect to the external data source. You have to select the right sheet in the Excel file. Here you click on Load To, and you always select Make Connection With and add data to the data model, because that makes sure that you are able to process very large data sets, big data, and that makes sure that Excel will not crash by putting data on the traditional Excel sheets. As you can see, there are more than 70,000 games loaded, also some errors. You open the Power Query editor by just double clicking. In Power Query you get a nice view of all the data columns. When we go to the genre column over here, then you see that the genre column is composed. It's combined column listing multiple categories in a single cells. So when we want to enable analysis from point of singular categories like simulation without virtual life, etc. in this case, then we need to decompose the values in this column. So in this video we will show how to do that. In Power Query you can model this quite easily. First we make a copy of the table. We alter the name, genres in games, because it's very important to have appropriate names for all the tables that you have. In genres in games you remove redundant columns by clicking on one, and then the columns become green, and then you can just say by double clicking on the header remove columns, column verwijderen in Dutch. Okay. It's important to keep the URL, because that will connect to the other table games. We will also remove these columns at the end of the table. Having two columns left, this column needs to be cleaned a little bit, because as you can see, genres double point space is leading, and that is the information content in that leading part of the text is 0, so that can be removed. There are different ways of doing that in Power Query. One way to do it is with the replace values option. So if you look for this specific text with double point, also include the space. That will handy already include the space from the cells. And you want to replace it by nothing actually. So this is not a very tricky operation in that it will alter the variable data, because genres double point space is not one of the categories used in the genres, of course, like action, strategy, etc. Okay, so let's proceed. So that goes quite easy. Now we want to split out the categories in the composed cells. So in the first cell, for example, you see that there are 5 single categories in the composed genre cell. In order to do that, you select the column and then you process by split column. This is this option. You use the first option. There are more options available, of course. So in this case, we can again use the dividing character that is the separating character that is in between the genre category names. So if we click on that, we see that the comma space will be important. That will be better than comma. So it's better to go to the Modify tab. So then we specify the characters that are important for the splitting. So that will be comma space. It's important to include the space, otherwise the categories will have spaces in front of the names. Okay. Are there some other options? Yeah, on the advanced options you see then you can split either to columns. That will mean that the table will add columns to the right. In database terms, it's preferable to split to rows so that data is added in additional rows. That's more convenient in database terms. Double quote is not relevant in this case. So if we proceed with this, we expect that the table will become much longer. Let's operate. Nevertheless, it goes quite fast, as you can see. Now you can see that, for example, in this movie, it is listed 5 times. With this movie is listed 5 times, and the genres names, category names are nicely written here on the right. So this is done for all movies. Okay, let's now make a third table in which we just list all the category names that are available in the Metacritic data. So to do that, we make again a copy of this table, duplicate. We change the name, so that will be genre. In this case, it will be singular names, so not genres, but genre. We operate by remove. In this case, this URL can be removed. And then in this table, we can just remove the duplicates. Then it's operating a little bit longer because the table was very long, that second one. And now you have a list of all items, all category names in this table. That is convenient from a modeling perspective. Oh, when we look over the data, there's also a null in it. That's not very convenient, so we can remove that as well. Otherwise, we will get trouble by that. remove empty rows. Let's see if something else is worth attention. So here we see a category that is ski/snow. Nevertheless, in Metacritic definition of genre terms, it is considered a single genre, so there's no need to split it. Same holds for this. Okay, so now the data looks quite nice, having like 171 different category names for genres. Skating be the last. Okay, so this last table, the genre table, will be the access point to the database from a user perspective. So a user who's interested in making reports from genres perspective will make pivot tables from this genre table. Let's close everything up in Power Query. So if you look at this button, it's a compose button, so you have to carefully select to the bottom of the bottom button. Then you have to operate close and load too, and not the first one, because we will again have this interaction form for the new tables. So we only want to connect to the data, and we want to add it to the data model in Power Pivot, to which we will go now to further model the details of our database. To take some time on my laptop, depending on laptop hardware specs, it will be quicker or slower. As you can see, the second table is about 3 times longer than the first table. So approximately each film has three categories on average. In total, there are 171 different genre labels. Okay, let's take a look how it looks in Power Pivot. Then we go to the Power Pivot panel and we go to Maintain in order to get the metadata view of the database. Here you see the same datasets again. Notice that the names have been propagated conveniently from Power Query to Power Pivot, which is very handy. This is the Power Pivot panel, in which you can also add DAX formulas here, and you can operate by adding measures for KPIs. Okay, let's do a diagram show. Then we have 3 tables with appropriate names. So let's see if the metadata makes sense. So it makes sense, and now of course we need to connect the different tables to each other. So the goal is to make pivot table reports from this table, the genre table. The genre table is listing the single categories and which can be connected to the genre table in this table. Notice that by removing the duplicates in the genre table, we kind of force the one to be on this side. So this means that every category name in the genre table is unique. So for example, action, it only will occur once in this table. Contrary, in this table, action will occur many times because there are many movies that have the action property. So that's why there's a star on this side. So that note also that there is an arrow. Going from genre table to genres in games table. Yeah, this is in line with the one-to-many relationship. So if you hover on the arrow, on the line, the relationship line, then you see which comps are used to connect both datasets. So in general, you have to always make sure that the two datasets, two tables in the database are connected by connecting similar things in both tables. Right? In this case, it would be very silly and inappropriate to connect genre in the genre table to URL in the genres in games table, because obviously the underlying data will not match to each other, and also conceptually the URL of a movie has nothing to do with a category name of a genre. Yeah, so this will be a very bad modeling option, which will result in a bad database. In this case, the correct option is to connect the genre to the genre, both conceptually and data-wise. I have lost my recording panel, I see. That is inconvenient. Okay, so I have to do this recording again, I suppose. That's painful. Let's check if I can still recover it though. So try to connect, right, let's try to proceed, and then let's see if the recording will be saved. So now we have to connect the two tables to the left, and we can do that uh, by connecting URL to URL, because these are the keys that will be used in the matching. Note that in this table, the games table, the URL is kind of a unique identifier for each movie, so it can be considered a candidate for primary key. With URL, you are able to distinguish each movie from each other movie in the table. So in this case, the URL in genres in games is not unique, because one movie in games, for example, The Fly, that has three genres, will occur once in this table and 3 times in this table, specifying the different genre labels. So if we do a connect between this one, then we see that this is the appropriate model to be built. Notice that if we make a pivot table from the genre table, then here we go with the then between the genre and the genres in game we operate with the direction of the arrow. Nevertheless, from genres to games, it is operating to the other side of the arrow. So we operate from the star to the 1. This means that we have to use the related DAX formula in genres in order to get relevant data from the games to the genres table. For example, the Metascore, you can copy it to genres with the related table. And then you can operated in the pivot table from that you built from the Java. Okay, let's see how the video goes, if it's saved.